That's why a code of conduct is needed. You can't you can't defeat a system as an individual or with no unity. So last week we covered the Vegas rule, what goes on in the black communities, discussed and resolved within the black community. The good faith rule, communicate in good faith to identify issues and problem solve. Also, the conservation of energy rule, make an effort to get involved with projects that generate collective statements regarding any issues that negatively impact black communities. So this week we're picking up on the positive acknowledgement rule. Make every effort to acknowledge and or at minimum greet members of your community when in their presence. You know that black people head nod, do that handshake, hug a black person, acknowledge black folk, right? Greeting people is the first step in building a relationship with them. And in our current situation, we need to build as many relationships inside the community as we can. The deep ramifications of simply acknowledging someone's presence cannot be overstated. You could prevent someone from committing suicide, meet a lifelong friend, find a business partner, or find a job for someone else you know, all because you simply nodded your head and said hello. What's up? Acknowledge each, but that goes a long way to just acknowledge somebody. Like I know sometimes for me, that has made me feel so good. And not just in white spaces either. Don't just do the head nod in white spaces. Let's do this everywhere. Also understanding that the culture of different places, and here in my city, hey, you get your head taken off for not acknowledging somebody. But we know
Yeah,
that's not
especially if you
nationwide.
look, especially
Yeah,
if you're looking, because now you're
yeah,
shooting units. We got
yeah,
room.
yeah. Down here in Tallahassee, Florida, you speak. You speak to everybody.
Well, here in Philly, if you don't make eye contact, that person you walk by might turn around and pop your melon in the back. So you better make eye contact and acknowledge people, man.
That's
I think
crazy.
another aspect of that too is the fact that we do live in a very hostile environment
Yeah.
in
Hmm.
these urban settings. And one of the things that will help alleviate a lot of the anxiety and tension we have around us is that simple acknowledgement. Because when you give somebody the head nod and they, give them, and they speak back, a lot of times that will relieve you of that tension of the possibility of something going wrong or an altercation that might be before you. So I think that particular code is very underrated in my
Hmm.
opinion, because like it just takes the tension out of the air when you can acknowledge somebody, look somebody in the eye, because you can see that they're functioning from a place of good faith, you know. So I think,
Hmm.
yeah, that we definitely need to be doing that a
Yeah.
lot more.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the good faith rule. But absolutely, I think when you talk to people, a lot of the times nowadays, people are talking about feeling invisible. And I think this rule is the direct response to that.
Yeah.
Because there have been times where I've gone entire days without being acknowledged, period.
Hmm.
Um, Not even a simple head knock, just no acknowledgement. And I know during a string of those days, you start to feel kind of dark, like
Mhm.
kind of invisible, because we're social creatures. So I think I agree with PC. I think that is a very understated rule. I know when we wrote it, we were all in different spaces. But nowadays, looking at that rule, that is a rule that hits home
Well,
on a lot of different levels.
Mhm.
then you got me thinking about there are times where I'm off, it's a weekend or something, and I'm tired. It's been a long week, and I'm in the house, but I leave the house for something, or I just need to get out and leave the house, and then I'm out. I'm in the grocery store. I'm somewhere, and another black person acknowledges me. That lifts my spirits a lot. That make me feel a lot better. That's a smile on my face. Or even if I acknowledge somebody and I can see that it was something that lifted them up, that makes me feel good. And it's just a transference of positive energy
Right.
to each other. So that's something that we need to be practicing on a regular basis. And like you say, it'll help break a lot of the tension that we have between each other. Let's show love.
Well,
Now,
no, go ahead, Pat.
I want to say this real quick. We are in the post Me Too era, okay, fellas.
Yeah, you gotta be smart about what you do.
Don't don't be stupid. All right,
Yeah,
you can acknowledge your sister without being stupid. All
head
right,
nodding,
let's not play
head
those games.
head
Yeah,
nod, up or down, whatever.
yeah, and make sure that she's open to whatever you're acknowledging, because a lot of things can get twisted these
Yeah,
days, and it doesn't
yeah.
take much in this current environment. It was funny, right? Because now that I think about this, I was going to the supermarket one time, and this was right after the Buffalo incident where this mass killer killed 10 of our people up there in Buffalo,
Mhm.
um, in the supermarket. And one of the security guards at the supermarket, I was talking to the brother. I said, bro, just checking him out. And you prepared, and we, started talking and having a conversation. And one thing led to another, and it was just like a good, good faith sort of interaction. So I saw the brother a few weeks ago, actually about a month ago, a little over a month ago, and just talking, just because we had that banter before, and he had said, bro, maybe you can help me out. And he started talking about his housing situation. I don't want to put his business out there, but the brother was paying almost $3,000 a month in an Airbnb. And he was like, somebody that, might be able to help me out. So I put him on to my man, botherhood.com. And next thing next time I seen the brother just gave me a hug. You know what I'm saying? And that just, and that's all came from that acknowledgement, that positive acknowledgement where we met up as brothers, and one brother helped another. And you know what I'm saying? Now that brother's in a better situation. And who
Mhm.
knows, it could be me. It has been me that's been the beneficiary of just good energy, positive acknowledgement. And now I'm in a better situation because somebody liked the energy and like the way I greeted them, and vice versa. So man, it can just open up so many doors.
Mhm.
Yeah, last thing I want to say on this, you made me think. We had a food drive last month, and it was a lady that called me, and she couldn't make it to the food drive, so she was asking could somebody bring the food to her. So I was like, all right, I'll bring it to her. For me, it was just originally it was just routine, just dropping it off like we normally do, just making sure people got food because we got access to this food, just making sure people got the food. But me dropping it, me in my mind doing my routine, just dropping it off. It was a elder lady who used to work at FAMU, and it made her day. And not just that, but we had like a 5 minute conversation, and just us talking about different things that's going on in the community, but just having a conversation, but just to see how her spirits was lifted because it was positive acknowledgement wrapped inside of what I normally do because usually I would just go to somebody's house and just drop off the food and just kind of keep it going because I'm on the road. But I actually just let me. She asked me one question. I was like, well, let me stop and talk. And just a little small conversation that we had. I ain't gonna lie, I felt real good leaving that, and it had nothing to do with dropping the food off. It was just the energy that she gave. So
Mhm.
sometimes just being smart about it, like Pat said, being smart about it. We ain't saying just run up to somebody, hey, and giving your life story, but acknowledging people in a positive way. So let's keep it moving.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The second one is levels to this rule. Recognize levels and address them accordingly when it comes to credibility in research and expertise of field. Oh, that's let me read that again because that's need to be big right now. Recognize levels and address them accordingly when it comes to credibility in research and expertise of field. Understand that just because you know something doesn't mean you know everything. And just because someone doesn't know as much as you doesn't mean they don't know anything. Everyone is on a journey. And when it comes to dealing with community members, we need to be willing to help everyone we come in contact with. Oh, yeah, it's definitely levels to this.
Mhm.
Hey, because these conspiracy theories are getting out of hand. Because it was one thing to have conspiracy theories in the early 2000s when there was no social media to share them. But it's another thing to have these conspiracy theories in 2020 and going into 2023 when you got social media and everybody sharing them, but the people are believing these conspiracy theories, and it's taking them away from the actual information that they need to be studying. Going back to what Neely Fuller was saying earlier, they're even more confused by the information that they're consuming and the people that are giving them that information, because they didn't check no credibility. Like I was looking at a video the other day, man, and this young lady was trying to prove that she has the lineage of Hebrew Israelite. And what she was using to prove it was a map. So she found a map from the 1400s, and it's a map of a part of West Africa, not all of West Africa, but a good chunk of West Africa. And she blew up the map. And we all know, when we look at a map, especially of West Africa, there's a bunch of countries and a bunch of nations and a bunch of people in between the coastline and when you're going up. So she found an area in the map that said the Kingdom of Judah. And she was like, see, I told you I was a Hebrew Israelite. And my first thing I'm thinking, so you just gonna skip over all that land between the coast and the Kingdom of Judah, and you're just gonna skip over everything? Because right to the left of it, it say the Kingdom of Gal. So why you can't be from the Kingdom of Gal? So you just looking for something to prove your point that has no real validity to it, and anything that makes you feel good or makes you think that your point is true, you're gonna go with it. And I'm not saying that you are not Hebrew Israelite. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is the way you're going about proving it ain't helping you. It's levels to this.
Well, hold on, Joe. Because if you flatten that map out, now the Earth is flat. And if you step off the end of the Earth, you might land on Planet X. And Planet Nibiru has been coming around every 26,000 years, my brother.
And the reptilians gonna come
find the roots of the 2012 timeline that was put in place by the Mayan calendar, brother. So what you must understand, brother, is before you go forth with this information, that you take some Metamucil, you know what I'm saying? And help you purulate.
That's the white man stuff.
I was waiting for you to say Yakub was gonna come out with his big head and make all of it. Okay.
Oh shit!
Hey man, hey, y'all better be careful. Them reptilians gonna come get y'all.
Look,
oh man,
it's I view this. Look, man, it's levels to everything, right? And it's always interesting because the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know, which is always interesting because you bump into people that think they know everything, and that tells you exactly where they are.
Right.
But they don't realize that you can tell exactly where they are based on the fact that they think they know everything. But the interesting thing to me is that I look at expertise in a lot of ways when we're talking about fields and stuff like that, credibility and stuff like that, the depths of the questions that they ask. And there's a lot to be said for people that don't ask any questions, especially the ones that don't even know which questions to ask. And I think we got a lot of that going on right now. When you look at like the thing you were just talking about, or you look at the other thing that you shared with us in the group about the dude saying that white people are a separate species, they're not human, and therefore they got to get injections.
And he just made a baby with a white girl. You just made a baby with a white girl.
You start looking at the theories that black people in America are all part of one tribe of ancient whatevers, and it's like, well, you know, the first question there to my mind is, well, how is that possible if we all came from so many different places? But you know, you got, so you run into this space, and that's where I agree with you. Like we're in a space now where anybody can turn on their microphone and their camera and say anything. And people don't necessarily have the critical thinking to I'm gonna just say it, I don't care if you're offended. People don't have the necessary critical thinking skills to be able to challenge these positions. Never mind rejecting them, just being able to push back a little bit. They don't even have that. So it's a dangerous space, and I think this code accounts for that. Like this is a part of the culture saying, look, we understand that there are far too many gullible people out here right now. So
Yes.
those of you that are in a position of authority, credibility, expertise, recognition, you have a responsibility before you open your goddamn mouth. And if you're just going to take that responsibility lightly, well, this is one of those codes where I'm like, all right, this is a consequence type code. If you violate this code, there should be some sort of direct consequence to the person that violates it. But this isn't a code necessarily for the community so much as it's a code that protects the community from dumbass people that don't know that they dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, one, just one quick thing, because this code also is in the thing with it speaks to learning, that thing, the evolution of learning, which you spoke to, Pat.
Yeah.
And like you said, the more you learn, the more you know, the more you learn that you need to know. Um, I think about also like Malcolm X. One of the things he was famous for saying is, and critiquing people who don't know as much as you know today, is the fact that you didn't know this much before. But it also, again, speaks to learning and understanding that there are people who are smarter than you.
Mm-hmm.
I think you and Joe
Always.
are two very brilliant brothers. So I always try to pick your brains when I can because I want to learn something from you. When I talk to when I so we'll have a conversation and I'm learning throughout the conversation. When I'm on the phone with Professor Small, he's talking, I'm a sponge. I shut up and I listen because I know there's a lot to learn. Same thing with Baba Baruti or any of the other elders of this space that actually bring, some wisdom to you, and so that I think those things too, knowing when to shut up and listen and learn
Mm-hmm.
is a very important thing. And social media has done so much damage to that because before you would have to get in line to go see these people speak, and then you would have literally 2 minutes, maybe one question that you can
Yep.
ask them. But there nowadays, people think that they can debate people
Everybody.
that know a book to every sentence that they learn. You know what I'm saying? Which is ridiculous.
This
Yeah.
goes back. My bad.
No,
Just
no,
real
no. I
quick.
was just agreeing with him.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay. This goes back to our breakdown that we did of Dr. Rashidi. When where's your evidence about people bringing up, like, just coming with these fantastic tales and nobody's checking or nobody's doing their research. Let's just be real. We've said it before. We're gonna say it again. If you get mad, hey, it's probably you. Too many black people are intellectually lazy. They
Mhm.
don't.
Yes.
They're not willing to do the research. And I know this because I be in debates all the time. And I tell somebody to prove it. They look it up. They have they're in front of a computer and the phone and won't use it. So yeah, let's keep this moving. Cracking the concrete rule. When achieving certain levels of knowledge and or power to progress the movement, create an opportunity for others to use the same pathway already forged.
Mhm.
Be like the flower growing in the concrete. It doesn't bash or look down on all the other plants that failed to make it through the concrete. It weakens the concrete, creating space for other flowers to come through. Don't sit on your success and gloat over the community. Help other community members achieve what you have by helping them down the road you have blazed. Look, look. I don't know, so I'm realizing how different my mindset was growing up. I always thought that as black people, especially as black people in America, that we were supposed to reach back, that we were supposed to help others. And I gathered that mindset because learning about Malcolm X, learning about Dr. King, learning about Harriet Tubman, especially Harriet Tubman, learning about her, learning about all of the forefathers and foremothers, our ancestors that came before us, who did what they did to make life for us better today. So in my mind, I thought all black people realized that, and all black people was in the business of giving back. Now remember, I'm in like elementary, middle school thinking this. And as I got older, I realized that every black person don't think or feel like that. And there's a lot of individualistic attitudes. But I love this, I love this code so much because it's how you continue to build upon the community that you're trying to build. It's how you make sure that your future is insured. It's how you make sure that a foundation is set and then they continue to build upon that foundation. Is how a nation is created. Like if I can go out and learn how to become whatever I want to become, and I see other black people want to do that, I'm creating that lane where all of them could come in behind me. I want to make it easier for them. I want other people to be empowered as well. So that's why I love that rule, because it's all about the individual becoming empowered, but also the group becoming empowered as well.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about this particular rule is that 125 years ago, this rule was actually supposed to be what propelled Black people from the depths of slavery. You know, the
Talented
recovery
10.
part. You know, Booker T. Washington with building Tuskegee and creating his agricultural university plan, where, you know, we would build it, and that was the original. If we build it, they will come. And then you look at W.E.B. Du Bois and his creation of the Talented 10th. And what the Talented 10th was supposed to do was blaze the trail, get the information, and bring it back to the rest of the community and pull the community up. Not what it became, which was a buffer zone that was utilized by, you know, the system of white supremacy, which we spoke to earlier, to maintain a glass ceiling for progress for anybody who was Black who didn't qualify for that 10%. So that in itself, you know, if you do that, you create a path of least resistance to success. And what we've been dealing with is a path of least resistance that keep us impoverished and keeps us under the thumb of the systemic system of white supremacy.
Absolutely. I think you guys both summed up that rule pretty well. I don't have nothing to add.
I just want to say real quick caveat. I believe because I was reading a book about I was reading a W.E.B. Du Bois book about Talented 10th, and he got, I forgot exactly the person, but he got that concept from a white man. So when you were talking about how that concept created a buffer zone, because look who it came from the dominant community. And yes, that will help them because they're empowered, but for us it created a separation.